it makes me really crazy that the excuses, the excuses, like the easy answer. Like, I think number one, the biggest issue with suicide is that, I mean, for me, I was conditioned from day one to shut my mouth. As soon as I toed the line, shut up. Like, all the way up until I'm coughing up blood, and then, okay, now it's a real problem, and then get some mediocre help. Here you go.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, like now, like when I say I check up on my people, I'm never like, hey man, like, hey, what's going on? How's your family? Okay, good. Like, it's not a text. I'm going to call somebody and be like, hey, what's going on, man? How's your mental health? I'll be like, people hate when I ask that shit. They do. But I'm going to keep asking it. I'm going to keep being that direct. And I'm going to ask everybody that I know that's a veteran to be that direct with their people, because we need to start approaching this differently. We need to start discussing this openly. We need to have these conversations. If you want to learn about me in my darkest times as an individual, inside and outside of the military, I'll talk to you about them. Mm-hmm. At this point. Granted, I'm not trying to air my dirty laundry somewhere, for some sob story, but I will talk to people and I will be very honest and very real. And I feel like that's the approach that we need to start taking to this, is being there and being receptive to those things and talking to the individuals. I'm glad that your team won on Sunday, and I'm glad that, your barbecue is next week. How the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
How is your mental health? How are you processing? And something that I tell all my soldiers, because like when they get out, like, and I tell people, document everything that I learned when I was in getting out. I try to give that information to everybody. I try to help as many people as I possibly can, navigating the VA and, even the DOD stuff, retirement, whatever, anything I can do. Like, I have no secrets when it comes to like the military. Like, I will help anybody and I want to. But my soldiers, like some of them, like they always, like, the big issue with getting out, right? It's a huge lifestyle change. What do I do? What am I going to do for work? What career am I going to have? What am I going to, and every single one of them, I say, look, I need you to hear me and I need you to understand this and I need you to digest this. It doesn't matter what you do for work. It doesn't fucking matter what you do for work. Do whatever the fuck you need to work to get your paycheck. It doesn't matter what you do for work. It only matters what you do for you. Yeah. What are you doing for you? Because we know the military mentality, we could go fill sandbags or, work on anything on the flight deck or whatever for hours, and we know it's going to suck, right? But as soon as that's over, we're going to go back to our little quiet place. We're going to take our little time for us, whether it's a cigarette or a snack or a book or what. What are you doing for you to be able to get back in the fight? That's what we need to focus on. That's what you need to maintain focus on, is what you're going to do as an individual for yourself. Everything else can wait. Everything else it's embrace the suck. It's probably going to suck. There's a lot less sucky things on the outside as there are on the inside, but it doesn't matter what you do for work. It matters what you do for you. And it matters how you talk to yourself. It matters how you talk about yourself. It matters how you treat yourself and your level of expectation. We have such a level of expectation to be treated like shit because that's what we've expected for so long. And I get it. And I get why it exists in the military. And I get why it's effective to train people that way. But I also see the depreciation of the individual when they get out. And, I had some conversations with some people, some higher ups, at Fort Bragg. They did a suicide symposium and they wanted people to talk. And so I started asking questions, and I've asked this question to some higher ups now, and I haven't gotten an answer, but to me, it makes perfect sense. I think one big thing that we do wrong in the military, especially in the Army, when I got to my unit, when I got sent from AIT, basic and AIT, I get sent to Hawaii. Now, when I get to Hawaii, there's a TMP bus that's literally doing circles from the airport to the airport base, drop me off at replacement barracks. Get to replacement, you check in there, you're there for 2 weeks. They go up and down your paperwork, make sure all your pay stuff is straight, your rank, all this other, you are who you are. Do you have a spouse? Do you, are your household goods on their way? Do you have a vehicle? Do you have a lease? All these things, and then they send you to your unit. And so, I talked to some of these generals at Fort Bragg, and one of these higher ups, I asked him, I was like, hey, sir, if we have replacement barracks when we get in, why don't we have displacement barracks when we get out? Why are we not doing this exact same checklist for our people that we've invested so much time and money and resources into on their way out? Why does that not exist?
Mm-hmm.
And 2 people said, wow, that's a great question. I never thought of that. We should do that. The other one said, oh, what, do we got to hold their fucking hand throughout the whole process? And
wow.
But this is, but are we surprised, right? Are we surprised that this is the response that we get, right?
I'm not surprised until that individual's on their way out, and then they're going to be like, holy fuck.
So this is what I said. I said, I was pretty taken aback, and granted, I'm not in the military anymore, but I said, sir, let me ask you something. I said, do you have pets? He goes, yeah. I said, great. What kind of pets do you have? He said, I have 2 dogs. I said, okay. You take your dogs to the vet? He goes, yeah. I said, awesome. Next time you take your dogs to the vet, here's what I want you to do. Get their leashes on, get them in the car, drive them to the vet's office, leave them in the parking lot, and go home. And he's like, why would I do that? I said, that's exactly what you're doing to every single soldier who you don't help getting out of the military. Because you're sending them somewhere they've never been before, where they don't speak the language, where they can't navigate the course, and you're showing up to the bare minimum to get them to where they need to be and giving them 0 guidance and giving them the keys and walking away. And if you think that's sufficient, that's fine. But I don't. And I say it 1,000 times a week, it feels like. I refuse to believe that this is the best that we can do. I just refuse to believe that this is the best answer, that these current practices are the best that we can possibly do. You can't tell me that these suicides and these numbers increasing the way that they are have 0 to do with the getting out process. My getting out process was a nightmare, and I won. And it's rare for me to have won. And I've had people say like, oh, it's like you're like David and Goliath defeating the giants. Like I'm not trying to put that out there. Like that's not. I can understand how some people say that and feel that way and interpret it that way. I don't look at it that way at all. I look at it like I felt like I got through that process by the skin of my teeth, and it was a victory. And like all these people are like applauding me for that this should not be a battle. It shouldn't exist. It shouldn't be a problem in the first place. Like that shouldn't even have to be a fight. The fact that we have to fight these people on the way out, the fact that we have to fight for ourselves, and it's
sad. It kind of reminds me of I had when I was in, I think it was like 2009, 2010, they started downsizing the military, and I had a 2nd class petty officer who I talked to recently because I've been trying to get him on here too. He was one of the smartest guys in our division. Like that dude just knew everything, but they forced him out. And talking it like what you're saying, like when you get out and they just kind of forget about you. That's what kind of happened to him. If I remember right, when last time I was talking to him, he said like he was supposed to get, since they were forcing him out after, I think he was like 12 or 8 years, maybe somewhere between 8 and 12 years. I can't remember how long he was in, but he was supposed to get like a check or pay stub for moving back to where he's, back to his hometown and stuff. And never, like he said, he was out months and didn't see anything come in the mail till he got to his local government officials, and they started pushing for it, and then he got it like that. And it's one of those things, like you're saying, oh man, we act like we care about you, we do all this stuff. Look, you're on the ship, you got food, you got a shower. And funny thing now, because I was on the Nimitz, I real quick on touch on this. I worked in fuels, and now on the Nimitz, there's JP5 or JP5 fuel leaked into the water that sailors are saying, and they're showering, drinking this stuff. They're getting sick. And somebody that dealt with fuel for 4 years, that stuff will fuck you up if it gets on your hands.
Yep.
So it's just a weird compounding thing. I feel like that's where you get the bad experience when you're in. You're like, fuck, they don't even give a shit about us. Then you get out, and it's like, sayonara, conveyor belt, you're gone. Next person's going to come in. That check that we're supposed to give you, guess what? You're out. So you're not priority. We're not going to give that shit to you until you start crying for it. Right. And the health issues that you're going to see because you drank this water, showered in it, brushed your teeth with it. Fuck, you better. That's where you're. Where you, I don't want to say lucky. I hate when people say lucky, but you're very smart about. Hey, I want this shit on fucking paper, because if I could talk to a sailor right now on that ship, I'd be like, make sure you fucking. Luckily, it's become public, like it's a public thing, so people know it's happening. Right. But it's like, make sure you document that shit. I'd go to a dentist on the ship. I'd do everything, get blood work done. I'd be like, I want to see what the hell is happening to me. And the article I was reading on it too, it said like higher ranking officials are getting like water delivered to them so they can shower and brush their teeth. So they got clean water, but everybody else, fuck you. You know, oh, you're an E1 or E4, you're going to be out anyways. Whatever. Yep. Good luck getting help when you get out too, because like we joked about, or not, sadly, the VA. Good luck getting help at the VA. We're not going to help you here. They're not going to help you out, and you're just going to be a cog in the wheel, basically, or you're out the door. And it's kind of like you're saying too, when you go to boot camp, and it's this whole you shut your mouth, just do your job. So when you do get out, that's what you've been programmed to think for 4, 5, 20 years. You get out, and then nobody's ever asked you how you feel. Not once. Nobody really cares, possibly even if they do. So then you get out, and it's like, well, how am I supposed to navigate shit? I can't tell people how I feel, because I'm told, I've been programmed to like just withhold all this shit from everybody. And it's such a problem. Like you said, it doesn't start when you leave. I think it starts the day you get to your command. Oh, that's where it probably starts. I never really thought about it like that till talking to you. Probably starts at that point, you know. For a lot of people, it's the first time away from home. You know, right? It's first time doing anything.
It's a new way of life. You know what I mean? If you're going to a new job, you're gonna go to a new job, and you're gonna expect to be trained how to do that job. You know, and it's like, you know, when you're surrounded by people that are not talking and not complaining and not bringing, you're like, you fall in. You know, it becomes, it's kind of. I mean, and again, I understand why the military is structured the way that it is. And this is the other thing. I'm not opposed to the military. I'm not anti-military by any means. Like, without our military, we wouldn't be, anywhere near where we are. I don't agree with tons of things that the government has done in my entire lifetime. Right. And and this is a big misconception too, that I think a lot of civilians make, is it like, oh, you joined up because you're this side or you're that side or you're whatever politically. And it's yeah. First of all, I served with every single kind of, I served with anarchists. I served with some pretty crazy people. Yeah. I served with some people that were doing some of the substances that they couldn't test for. You know what I mean? Like you serve with all kinds of people. And I've never been like on I hate politics and crap anyway. Like, I can't stand any of that. Like, you're not going to catch me identifying. Like, I think that's the stupidest thing when someone's like, this politician knows exactly what I want. They represent me. Like, there's no way. That's never going to happen. Right. Like,
that's the hardest one to shake. I've talked to a number of people already, because they say the same thing. They're like, man, I hate when somebody brings up politics and they know I'm in the military or a veteran, because they just automatically assume things about you.
Right.
You're
a red-blooded American. Like,
it's like, I don't know. Like I tell people, I'm just level-headed, man. If it's wrong, it's wrong. If it's right, it's right. I don't really care, right.
Yeah.
I hate getting into it, because, man, people get so bent out of shape, man.
I live by a very, very, very simple set of rules, and look, I want you, the individual, to live your life however the fuck you want to. I don't give a shit what you do with your life. I don't care. I don't care. You have freedom. You earned it. Yeah. I don't care what the fuck you do with that freedom, so long as it doesn't hurt anyone else or hurt anyone else's freedom. So long as everybody else can have the same freedom, I don't care. I don't give a shit what you do. If you want to marry a cabbage and worship a goat, do it. Like, who the hell am I to judge you for whatever you like? I'm not going to judge anybody for that stuff.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. It's like, I don't care what the fuck you do. My wife and I joke about this show all the time. Like, I don't care what people do as long as they just fucking leave me alone. That's all,
Right.
you know, I'm just trying to, my life's already, you have kids, you know how it is. It's already hard enough as it is, man.
Right.
Just,
right.
you know.
But that's what I think is so funny when people say like, oh, well, you know, you signed up, so you must be this. And when I tell people no, they're like, oh, well, why'd you sign up then? And I was like, well, first of all, I signed up because I wanted to. And second of all, I signed up because I knew that if I didn't, then someone else would have to. And I'd rather take that role.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather do what's needed. You know what I mean? And I feel like several of us have stepped into that role, not knowing what we signed up for until it's too late. You know, I don't like the word lucky either, but I feel very blessed for the certain circumstances that happened to me, even though a lot of them were awful. There was a lot of really awful shit that I had to live through and go through, but I'm grateful to be on the other side of it, to have the perspective now, to be able to look back and help the next person up the ladder. And if we don't have that mentality, then we're wrong. And if there's anybody, and I challenge any leader in any military branch in the United States, I challenge any one of them to say out loud that their entire military experience was everything that it needed to be, and their entire getting out process was the best that it could possibly have been.